Joining us now, Congresswoman, 13th District, California. That is the Oakland area. Barbara Lee, Congresswoman, great to have you with us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be with you.
Okay, so before we get to politics, Congresswoman, many people have told me you're an avid Oakland A's baseball fan.
Absolutely, and will continue to be an avid Oakland A's baseball fan. You know, unfortunately, we're losing several of our teams in Oakland, but the A's are very loyal. They're wonderful. They're great players, and so I'm going to continue to root for them because they are our team. They're the Oakland A's.
I know what happened with
who your team is, but that's okay.
What happened with the Raiders going to Vegas? What's up with that?
Huh?
What happened with the Raiders going to Las Vegas? That's crazy, right?
Well, yes, it's different. I mean, I don't know why. I know why in terms of what the taxpayers just were not going to do in terms of tax dollars.
Right.
But I'm sorry to see them leave. I mean, I'm a Raiders fan, also Golden State Warriors, which will be moving. They'll be moving to San Francisco in a couple of years. And so the A's are really the team that is sticking with us in Oakland. They're doing phenomenal work in our community, the players are. And, you know, we're a great city, and the A's are our team, and they're shining in our city, and people love them.
Well, they are a mainstay there. And, of course, the Warriors, that franchise started in San Francisco. They were the original San Francisco Warriors back in the day. When I grew up, I remember following them. So I kind of remember that. But your Oakland A's right now languishing in last place, 10 games under 500, 21 games behind my Astros. But look, we had some lean seasons as an Astro fan, Congressman Lee, so I really understand what it is to be mired in last place for a while. I'm sure the A's will be back soon.
Listen, the A's fans, you know, we're going to root for them win or lose. So
I know you got to keep.
That's not an issue.
Got to keep rooting for those A's, and
going to play on.
They are, just for the record, 21 games behind my Astros, who are in first place, and your team in last place. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, Barbara Lee, I want to get look. When you're an Astro fan and we've never won a World Series like the A's have, you get to make fun of the other teams when we finally have a good team. So we're not going to miss out on that. Let's get to.
Okay, our team is still the best, Oakland A's.
Well,
so
we'll take you on that. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Let's get to authorization for military force. Congressman Lee, there's a lot of things that you and I probably don't agree on, but one is I've been opposed to all these wars. I was probably the only Republican in America to oppose the original war, Desert Storm, where we went to liberate Kuwait, which we had no treaty with, no NATO, nothing, just go in there and liberate countries. That was the Saudis' job, not ours. So that's where I am. But when you look at the authorization for military force right now, we've got General Mattis getting authority to send another 5,000 troops into Afghanistan, a war that's been going on since 2001. There's no victory in sight. There's no objective. But Congress is supposed to be the final say in authorizing this. We're working off an AUMF that was implemented in 2001. That's 2 decades and 3 presidents ago. You finally got your reauthorization of AUMF that got through the subcommittee in appropriations. But now it's in rules, where everybody knows what rules is. You send it there to die, right? We're not stupid. So what happens now, and how do you take this thing out of there?
Now, let me tell you what happened just last night in the dark of the night. The amendment which I offered in appropriations was to repeal the 2001 authorization, which has been used at least 40 times based on what the Congressional Research Service provided us. That was a few years ago. It was actually 30 sometimes. Now it's 40. And in places like Yemen, Somalia, for drone attacks, nothing to do with 9/11. So that authorization needs to be repealed. And in my amendment, what we did was repeal it and give the Congress 8 months to debate and vote and come up with a new one for these new wars that unfortunately we're engaged in. And what happened last night was just in the dark of the night, Speaker Ryan took it out of the appropriations bill, the bill that's coming to the Rules Committee now. How undemocratic is that? I mean, that was underhanded. It undermined the entire process, and it's shocking that, that kind of autocratic rule can take place in a democracy. But that's what happened last night. So we're regrouping today, and we're going to continue this fight. It's taken me this long just to get bipartisan support for the repeal and a new authorization.
So let me get this straight, Congressman Barbara Lee, 13th District, California, Democrat. Let me get this straight. So you're on appropriations. You get this bill through the subcommittee. We were talking for a week
through the full committee. This was the full committee.
The full committee. And
yeah,
then
52 members, bipartisan.
Right, 52 members, right? And now,
right.
How does it get out of appropriations, and how does Ryan put it into rules where everybody knows is like for bills they don't want, dead man walking? How does he do that?
Most bills go to rules before they come to the floor. Now, they can kill a bill in rules or not. But the process is and defense appropriations is such an important bill that it does go to rule to make the determination as to how the debate on the floor will be structured. Will it be open? Will it be able to offer amendments? Will it be closed? So the Rules Committee has the responsibility to do that. But between the bill being passed in appropriations and now the Rules Committee, somehow Speaker Ryan just took it out. I mean, he just said, take it out. And he took it out. It did not come back to committee for a vote. This is how this process works with this House. So, Speaker Ryan, again, in many ways, is very clear with regard to what he wants and what he doesn't want. I don't know what he's afraid of. I mean, this has been an effort that's been bipartisan. Thank God for Walter Jones. He's been such a great leader in this effort, and we built Republican and Democratic support for us to stop being missing in action and for members of Congress to do their job. And the Speaker just wiped that out last night.
Well, what he's afraid of.
That's a fact.
What he's afraid of, Congressman
I don't know what
Lee.
He's afraid of.
Well, sure. I know what he's afraid of. He's afraid, Congressman Lee, that his Republican caucus members might have to actually get away from hiding behind mama's apron, get out front, and actually go on the record in this debate on whether or not to reauthorize AUMF or not, or to simply absolve their responsibility and turn it over to the generals. I mean, that's what he's afraid of. He's afraid of people having to go in and hit the green card or the red card and have recorded votes. So they'd rather let Trump and Mattis decide what to do. And if it doesn't work out, they can say, hey, we had nothing to do with that. That's what he's afraid of.
You know what? That is fundamentally putting Congress, actually, as I say, missing in action. We have a job to do. We have a constitutional responsibility, and to duck and dodge and keep this from coming to the floor where Congress would be able to do their job is a shame and it's a disgrace. And so I hope that your listeners will, let the Speaker know that democracy should be working, especially around issues of war and peace, and the Congress needs to do our job and fulfill our constitutional responsibility. These are tough decisions. This is a tough place. We're elected to, work. We're elected to take those hard votes. And so why in the world would we not do that? That's really not good for our country, and it's not good for our democratic process. And it's undemocratic, it's un-American.
And Congresswoman Lee, all you're looking for is to have this debated on the floor. You just want to have the debate. Let's have the debate.
I want to have a debate.
You want to talk about it?
2001 was 16 years ago. This should not serve as the basis for perpetual war. So we need to repeal that, have a debate, and vote on a new authorization, up or down, for the new wars and the new world in which we find ourselves. Members of Congress would be able to listen to their constituents and they would have some say in matters of war and peace, which the Constitution requires us to do. And that, to me, is a fundamental problem with this House, because so often it's run in a very undemocratic way, and the people's voice is not being heard because of how the Speaker runs the show here.
And didn't he promise that he was going to get back to regular order? Wasn't that part of the big promise made? Never happened.
Absolutely.
Never happened, right?
I'm curious with regard to, he made that promise from day one. I think he even said that in his speech when he took over the speakership.
Yeah, he said that we go back to regular order, right?
Are dealing with him.
Right, it's the same old thing. All right, just to clarify something for our listeners and me. So when your bill to reauthorize AOMF, when that got out of the subcommittee on appropriations, did it ever get...
the full committee.
It got out of the full committee on appropriations.
Yeah, full committee on appropriations.
So it got out of there. It passed out.
Got out of there with bipartisan support and a voice vote. No one opposed it.
Oh, so with a voice vote.
The ranking member did not like it, but her members, the Republicans, said, no, this is the right thing to do.
Right, because who was a congresswoman in Texas who said it'll get out over my dead body? Who was that?
I'm not sure who said that.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a Republican congresswoman in Texas who was opposed to it getting out of appropriations.
Oh, well, Congresswoman, I didn't know she said that. Kay Granger. Yeah. I didn't know that she said that.
Right. So even with her opposition, it got out of full appropriations.
It got out, yes.
And nobody went on record, just voice.
It was a voice vote because we had consensus. Usually when there's consensus among Democrats and Republicans, you don't need to vote. Everyone agreed.
Right. So you had a voice vote.
And then afterwards, everyone applauded because they knew I had done this for over a decade, and bringing it forward, and it was defeated. Even some Democrats did not support it, but they understood that finally we needed to get going with this and needed to, do our job. And so applause broke out after it passed. People were very pleased that we found a way to work in a bipartisan way to get something done in the Appropriations Committee.
And then Ryan put it in rules.
Now, I know you're shocked, John, because this is the way this worked. Last night, probably about 11 o'clock, the bill was filed with the Rules Committee, which is the normal process, without this amendment. It evaporated.
It evaporated. He just took it out.
He just took it out. Now, how democratic is that?
So now it's dead because it isn't even there.
It's not there, but I tell you one thing, it's not going to die. It may be dead in this appropriations bill, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Can you get...
and there are other ways to skin a cat.
Can you get a discharge petition and get it on the floor?
We're working on a variety of strategies right now, John. We'll be back in touch with you once we determine which way to go. I've got to talk to my Republican friends and my Democratic friends and come up with a plan. But look, do you think we're going to stop now?
No.
No way.
You got to keep fighting,
No
Barbara
way.
Lee. So it took me a while to figure this out, what you were saying. So just to clarify and paraphrase for our listeners, your bill to reauthorize AUMF, so we're not sending troops into war, that's unauthorized like we've been doing forever, to get this debate on the floor. It got out of subcommittee appropriations, then on a voice vote, got out of appropriations, moves to rules, and then as that went to rules, Ryan just took out the amendment as if it didn't exist.
That's right. You got it.
Unbelievable. So now you have to go to Plan B.
Shocking.
I tell you what, it is just...
NCND.
And like, what would be the reason? I mean, I would love somebody to just ask the guy, why did you take this out? What are you afraid of?
That's what I'm asking. What are you afraid of? I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to try to talk to him again and see what is he afraid of now. I mean, this doesn't make sense because Republicans and Democrats support this. The people support it. And for one person to be able to exercise that kind of autocratic rule over a process that should be democratic is just fundamentally
wrong.
Un-American. It's wrong, and should be challenged.
Well, you know what? If you're
But I've
sending...
been persistent listen, I've been persistent. We're going to keep going. We're going to build more public support. The public's with us, and so we're going to keep going until this is done.
All right, I've got one more minute. Look, I defend the Democrats every day for standing for what you believe in, which Republicans can't seem to do. And so you fought for the non-repeal and replacement of Obamacare. You got two minorities, and you don't have the presidency, and you still win. How do you guys keep winning when you're in the minority?
The American people really understand who's on their side in many ways. For us to do something that would destroy health care for 22, 23 million people is immoral and unethical and wrong. We've got to move forward and make and improve our health care system, do what it needs to make sure that everyone has access to affordable health care and really fix the problems in it, not take health care away. So I think the public is what is driving this, because the public knows that it's wrong to require people, for example, to lose their health care or not have health care if they have a pre-existing condition or not have emergency services available. That's just downright wrong. And also, I think the public understands that people who don't make a lot of money deserve access to health care just like wealthy people do. And so Medicaid is extremely important for long-term health and for people who are in nursing homes and long-term health care. And so people get it, and I think that's what you see taking place.
Congressman Lee, when are you going to run for minority leader?
I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and I'm trying to do my job from where I am.
I think we should start...
And I'm on the Budget Committee also.
I think we should start a draft.
Budget and appropriations bills could be devastating.
I think we're going to start a draft Lee for Democratic minority leader right here on my radio show. You make a lot of sense. Lee for minority leader. I'm going to start that rumor.
To be hopefully thoughtful, objective, and to work with everybody, but to stick to my principles, just like you and the others who don't agree with me do. And we can find common ground if we uphold our values as Americans.
That's right, Barbara Lee. Well said.
And yet find ways to work together.
Well said. You know what? We can disagree on a lot of stuff, but there's always common ground to find for the greater good and work together. Put your differences aside and get something done. So I'm starting the Draft Lee for Minority Leader campaign right here on my show and get your staff all upset. But look, you got to do something. Congresswoman Lee, thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Great talking with you. We'll keep you posted.
All right. More information, you can go to her website.
Yeah, definitely.
You got it, which is lee.house.gov. Lee.house.gov.